And we're live. All right, guys. Thanks for tuning into the channel. As always, put your comments in the comment section. This is going to be a quick and short and sweet one today. So we may get to some comments and questions today. Definitely put them in if you're just starting to log in. And put them in for future lives as well. We go back and reference these questions for the future. As always, go to coreteamhawaii.com. Go to the bottom for any real estate needs, buying, selling. I even started sending my solar guy out to you. If you don't have a real estate need, you can hit us up, and I got a really good solar guy that I can send to you. So hit us up for anything you need. And today, the thumbnail talks about permitting because there was this kind of hit piece. And I just started reading it this morning. It's a hit piece on some local celebrity investors. And I'm acquainted with them. I know of them. Don't love or hate them. Fairly neutral. But there's a little bit of a hit piece, and there's valid things in there, and there's like, look at you embellishing or you writing things very well grammatically and structurally, but let's keep it real. That's a little unfair. I have a lot to say about it, but before I dive into that, this is actually a video that I want to take some time and outline my response and, just really put some thought into it because I don't want to be unfair to anyone. But yeah, a little teaser about that. Permits in Hawaii. In general, the bureaucratic and governmental process in Hawaii, it sucks, and we all know that. Here's another thing about that. If you were the type of guy or gal that say like to get a nice Christmas card, Easter card, Boys Day, Kamehameha Day. What's another ambiguous holiday to receive funds, to get gift cards and cash for pushing a permit through? If you were someone who liked to do that stuff, it would be best for you if the process were slow. If permits were fast, if it was McDonald's, or leave me a comment. Is McDonald's the fastest fast food still? If it were the fastest, permitting department of 50 states in the country, then, well, it's a city and county thing. But if it were the fastest in the country, would the opportunity to get greased still be there? No, it wouldn't, because I just apply for my permit and I get it and I do business. Now, whether that's personal business or business, I just get to business and handle business and do business, have a profitable business. But the fact that it's slow provides the incentive and the opportunity for Christmas cards and Halloween cards. Who's giving Halloween cards, right? So there's that. There's also, I sold a home once with some flippers, and I kept asking, but how are you going to get this permitted? Admittedly, they knew at that time, and even though I know more today, they still know more than I do about the permitting process because that's what they do every day. And they're like, no worries, we can get them permitted. This owner, and we fully disclosed, like there was no, on my part, no non-disclosure, no saying that it was permitted when it wasn't. But the whole thing verbally with my clients was like, we can get them permitted, brah. Don't worry, cuz we can get them permitted. The permit gonna come. Don't worry about the permits. We'll get it permitted. Well, those owners contacted me years later. It's like, hey, we never got our permits closed. Right? Is there anything you can do? Now, my fiduciary duty is expired to the seller, the investors, the flippers. But at the same time, I gotta, I'm not party to the transaction. I don't represent them. So anyways, I tell that story vaguely because I've seen effery in the investing and flipping world. I don't necessarily know that these celebrity investors are guilty of effery. I don't know. From what I've read in the article, I got about a third of the way through. There was no clear evidence that they had done anything nefarious. They had chose to expedite the process and pay some fines. But I'm going to dig into that. We're even going to share screen, and you're going to see me reference paragraphs and unpack them. I'm going to give a full unapologetic, but fair, fair response to the article, and just kind of give my thoughts and talk about it as it relates to you. So, permitting in Hawaii. If you buy a house in Hawaii that has unpermitted work, a couple of things. It could never get permitted. You have to rely on the people who had done the work. So, for example, the inspector may say, well, in order for I forget what the code is, like E6, E5, E6, E4, E5, E6, whatever, on the permit. In order for the general part to get closed out, the electrician has to sign off. Well, if the electrician's nowhere to be found, then that's going to be a hard process, right? There's a lot that goes into it. We never recommend that our buyers buy homes that still have open permits, that the buyer would it would affect the buyer's opinion, So if they're like, it's 2,500 square foot on the MLS, but the home's originally only 1,800 or 2,000. In order for me to really want this home and for this home to be a thing that I would want long term, I need those permits to close, or I wouldn't want this home. Well, my advice to that buyer is you might want to avoid buying this home. Now, we're going to talk about the risk involved and the timeline to get the permits closed, what the recourse would be if they never do get closed, what you could do. But we never want to push you into buying a home with unpermitted work. Now, and open permits, I should say. Now, unpermitted work. Say it's a 2,500 square foot home because something's enclosed, but it was unpermitted and enclosed. Can you buy it? Can you get a loan? You can still get a loan. But sorry, Kenny was taken out of the office. He's going to an appointment. So I was like, the 2,000 square foot is what the appraiser is going to appraise on, not the 2,500. So they may be pricing the home at, say, 1.8 million, but comps for 2,500 square foot are at 1.8. Comps for 2,000 are at 1.6. So now, do you pay 1.8? Well, if it's dependent on the loan, you're not going to be able to. If you have the cash, should you pay up to that price? I'd recommend not. But if it's a really hot home, maybe someone is going to. So these are just the conversations we have. If the market will give that person 1.8 on that home and the seller can get 1.8 on that home, then that's what the seller is going to do, permitted or not. Now, is that person overpaying? Well, maybe. But what if there were 6 offers behind it at 1.78 and they paid 1.8 and got it? Did they overpay? Well, the free market's saying that it's worth that, and multiple people agreed. So we try and avoid unpermitted work when we can. Also, you're supposed to pull a work permit. I have to go verify the new number if your work is over $1,500 or something like that. So are you telling me that in your personal home, if you just replace the vinyl plank flooring or if you just replace the cabinets or something, you would pull a permit? Do you think you should have to pull a permit to replace your own kitchen cabinets? I don't think so. I mean, there's $1,500 toilets out there. Should you have to pull a permit to put in a nice total toilet? No. But if you didn't, Civil Beat could write an article. So now, do I think they would? No, I don't think they're malicious like that. But I'm just saying, if you want to get technical, the permitting process sucks. That's my technical response. So we're going to do a whole video on that. We're going to unpack it. We're going to talk about permits. And we're going to try and keep it less clickbaity and spicy for the sake of being spicy and likes. We're going to keep it on brand with this channel, helping you understand Hawaii, the Hawaii real estate process, and things surrounding it that could affect you. And I think the permitting is a good one because you can tie it into culture, you can tie it into government, you can tie it into costs, of doing business here, just shipping. A vanity is going to cost more at Home Depot here than on the mainland. You can tie it into a lot of things. You can also tie it into your decision when buying or when selling. Do you have an enclosed patio that you should work to get permitted before you sell? Maybe. If you're going to do that, we should talk sooner rather than later. I mean, if you're going to sell in a year or 2 years, we talk now because maybe we recommend to get that enclosed lanai up to code and permitted, right? So anyways, we're going to unpack that later. I'm going to go into some of our safe surveys. Jody, you want to jump on? And I'm going to have Jody Tonga come in, and she's going to talk about what the interest rates have been doing. They have been going in a bad direction. In our text thread with Lender, it seems like they've gone a little bit in a positive direction, so we'll talk a little bit about that. And then we have to get off because we have to go move some furniture into our new space. All right, so let's start with the one. What am I starting with? Rika? Sorry. All right, let's Aiden. Rika has given Aiden some really good feedback. He's very knowledgeable and definitely knows what he's doing, and he's been really helpful. My sister's been working closely with me as well for this purchase. Now I'll pause and say the sister's husband is an agent. So while Aiden's having these really inquisitive, conversations where they're asking him questions and challenging, they've got skilled people say, ask him this. And we love it because it just proves Aiden's worth and his skill. All right. Oh, I got to give you a mic. I'm switching them. Sorry. So the sister has had really great things to say about him too. We both have had a really good experience with him. He's very detailed. He has really good examples of situations that come up and is really easy to understand. I'd say that's all on point for, what do you call Aiden?
80 boy.
80. 80. All right. Richard, short and sweet. They're great to work with, and they're really helping us with a complicated real estate purchase. Yeah, it's complicated. It's delayed, but they really want it, and it's buyer's best interest first. You don't know them. They're all cash. But all right, now Kenny. Kenny's been good as always and dedicated communication. Oh, good as always and dedicated. Communication is great as well. Thank you, Victoria. The thing about Victoria is they canceled an escrow recently, and I audited it. I'm like, okay, we're losing an escrow. Let's talk about it. Could we have warned the client about the thing prior to them getting into escrow so they didn't have to go through an inspection? Confirmed, yes. Yep, full disclosures. We were in front of it. They wanted to move forward, but then we're also moving to cancel within the inspection period. So I've audited this one. Client first. Kenny's approached it with a client first mentality and skill. And I think Kenny's a perfect fit for Victoria too. This is a really good one. You guys are helping Victoria, right?
Yes.
Yeah. Cool. Richard, you guys aren't. He's cash. And then, are you guys helping Rika?
Rika?
Yeah.
No,
that's okay. We still love you, Rika. Okay, Jody, what's going on with interest rates? Last I heard, they were going up. One of the concerning things was that the Fed overnight rate dropped, but instead of interest rates dropping in the mortgage industry, they went up, and that was concerning. But then they've come down some.
Yeah.
Where are we at?
So they went up. They went up for like 10 days and 10 business days in a row. So like a week and a half or so.
Okay.
And then they've come down. So now we're at like VA is around a 5.75.
Oh, okay.
Conventional is around a 6.375. So it's better.
That's better?
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's a lot better.
I would venture to even say that's relatively good, not just better.
It's good.
Yeah.
I think it's great. I think it's
Yeah.
good. I mean, a 5.75%.
In the last 24, 30 months, well, that's good. Mm-hmm. It's good.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And the Adams who got out and then got back in to contract.
Are we back in escrow?
Yeah.
Oh, I knew that.
They got a better rate.
Oh, so it works out for them.
For them, it works out.
Yeah. So even though they paid a little money for an inspection that, for a home they're not buying, they'll make that up in the first month.
Yeah. And then interestingly enough, because there are very minute changes daily, rates did worsen. So between yesterday and today.
Okay.
So, which is why...
From what? So VA's at like 5.75. It was like 5.65 yesterday?
No,
or
so...
5.7?
So it was at like a 5.75 with like a small rebate. And now it's at a 5.75 at par.
I see. Meaning you're not getting a little $1,000 lender closing cost credit. Or,
Right.
Yeah.
And, you know, that's why it matters as far as being ready to perform. Because like Kenny kept us informed and they, you know, were saying, okay, we think this one's going to get accepted. We think we have a verbal counter coming over. Da, 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 da. Like he kept us informed the whole way. We were ready. My team was ready. The offer got accepted. The file got uploaded. We got locked. Easily, we could have waited till today.
Were you guys aware of that yesterday? And was the conversation like, hey, get this executed so I can lock? Or did it just so happen to change today and you weren't able to anticipate it?
Couldn't anticipate it.
I see. Yeah.
So it was more of just like a good thing we were on it. And now we're locked in and now we don't have to worry about it.
Cool.
Yeah.
Cool. All right. Everyone in the industry and I think just in the country wants to see rates go back to like a 2000, pre-2019 kind of 4.75 and let's just stay there forever kind of thing. I see that if we went to 4.75 today, it'd be a really hot market.
Yeah.
We've all been conversing and following the hopeful trend that inflation slows, the economy contracts a bit, and they can stabilize rates closer to 5 or sub 5, 4.5 to 5. But now then Trump happened. And
Right.
We've had a lot of conversation around that. So we may not see better than mid 5s for years. It's possible, right?
It's possible.
Yeah, because people say, well, Trump, good for markets. Trump, good for this. Well, tariffs cause inflation. We've had a lot of conversation around that. His good might be counterproductive for real estate's good,
Right.
potentially, right?
Yes.
And even though he's the real estate guy, and so
Right.
simplistically, people think Trump, he's a real estate guy and be good for real estate. But remember, he is not the Fed.
Right.
So if he moves, if NVIDIA soars and Microsoft soars and all the Home Depot stock soars and they're hiring more and the economy is booming and roaring, then that's why we need to raise rates, right?
Right.
So we could stabilize at higher rates during his presidency, right?
Yes.
Yeah. So I just hate thinking that now's the best time, or I hate saying like, you should buy now. I don't like fear mongering people into buying.
Right.
However, it might be the best time in the near future. Maybe, maybe not. There's no way for us to know, right?
I think it is.
Yeah.
I mean,
You're confident saying it?
I'm pretty, yeah. I mean, it's a unique time right now in the Hawaii market specifically where things there's deals to be had.
Okay.
So we're seeing good credits. We're seeing good, higher probability of getting the offer accepted.
Yeah.
And, the rates are good.
Yeah.
So I think that when you don't have to compete as much, that's when you can start asking the seller for more concessions and you can get this help.
At 4.75, I'm going to have to say, I'm sorry, Mr. and Mrs. Buyer. I can ask for a credit for you. We can write offers that have credits built in, but you're not going to get accepted. In 2021, a lot of agents literally would not work with a buyer who had no cash.
Yeah.
If you were a VA buyer, nothing down, for the previous decade, I'll load my business with nothing down VA buyers. In 2021 and the months right before and right after, people just wouldn't work with you if you were a zero down buyer. Because I couldn't make sense of showing you 77 homes knowing you're not going to get any of them. There's so much cash. Such a strong seller's market. So right now, you can get credits, you can get concessions. Yeah.
Yeah, and it's nice.
That's nice, yeah.
It's nice to be able to get some help from the sellers, and our buyers are not having, the Adams, like they're not covering their closing costs.
Right.
Yeah. So.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
We have a couple of questions. Well, one's a comment. Aloha state of mind. Get your guys' comments in because we're going to wrap this one up soon. Condos seem dicey these days with a lot of risk with HOA costs possibly increasing substantially. Seems like right now it's better to rent and invest your down payment into the stock market. That is a fairly general statement that is true to some degree. So Aiden, who has done the heaviest amount of research and lifting on this whole condo issue for an insurance issue for Core Team Hawaii, is still buying a townhome as soon as he can in January. He's going to file his taxes first week of January, and then they're going to get him the loan, and he's going to buy a place. We collect, I would not put this, for one, he's smart enough to think for himself, so I'm not putting him in any position. But we wouldn't be doing this. One of our team members wouldn't be doing this if we still didn't believe in owning real estate. Go ahead.
We have our condo questions, insurance questions that we now are asking ahead of time, and we're getting these answers. And these answers basically are giving us confidence to be able to know that, the financial status of the condo are looking pretty good. The insurance is looking pretty good. There's not going to be some sort of massive special assessment or just a straight up HOA increase because we are getting these answers to these questions. So it's not every single project, of course, but of the ones that are coming in with the proper intel, the proper answers, we feel pretty good about those. Now, all of that changes a little bit further on in the escrow transaction when we get the budget, because we ask as much preliminarily before being accepted, before submitting offers. Mm-hmm. And those help with, I would say, 90% of confidence. And then the rest of the 10% comes from the budget and the reserve study, and that we cannot get our hands on. Well, sometimes we can, but most of the times we cannot until you're in escrow.
Well, so I'm going to repackage what Jody said a little bit. The condo market and the insurance thing, through its natural evolution, is past the most volatile of times this year. That was probably more springish into the summer. Also, because of their research and our research collectively, we are stronger in understanding it and getting in front of it than we've ever been. So you can be more sound in buying a condo in 2024 than you could have been the whole year, mm-hmm. because of the natural evolution of the market and our efforts in research and experience. And it was never risk-free buying into an association. You always needed the reserve study and the budget and to see what litigation may or may not be happening or going to happen outwards or inwards. And so we're just better at looking at that now. I decided to keep my townhome in an HOA. I could have sold it, and it went up by $200,000 since I bought it. I could have sold it. I could have exited that. So by me effectively making the decision to keep it, it's not the same, but it's pretty similar to me making a decision to buy it. I just decided to keep it. So I still believe in buying the right condo or the right townhome today. That's the simplest statement. Now put it into the stock market. I just sat with someone really smart yesterday about balancing my asset allocation, my portfolio, and what percentage would be in real estate versus stock based on risk, based on appetite for investing. What does that mean to put it in the stock market? Like an S&P index fund? Are you going to pick Amazon and Tesla? Maybe. Are you dollar cost averaging into Bitcoin and Ethereum and Solarium? What do you mean by putting it in the market? VTSAX, the Vanguard Total Stock Market Index Fund, that's done well this year. Could be better if you bought the wrong condo in January versus dumping that down payment into an S&P index fund in January and letting it sit. You would have done better with the index fund, for sure. Also, if you bought the right thing in January, and or if we forecast forward 10 years, because remember your leverage, right? 200 grand down, $1 million asset, appreciating on the whole million. Would you be better off in 10 years? Maybe, maybe not. Do you have a lot of wealth and you need to store some because you're too exposed? You have too much in Tesla and Amazon and Nvidia, and some of it needs to be stored into a hard asset. And you prefer a condo or a townhome, just buy the right one. Aiden's about to do it. So that's our answer to that. What is the percentage in Hawaii that I can raise our rental property? I think you mean the rents, and Hawaii doesn't have a cap. There's not like you're not allowed to raise more than 10%, at least to my knowledge, unless it's come up recently and I don't know about it. No more, right? So you could raise it any amount, but the market dictates that you can't raise it too much. You're not going to have a renter, and vacancies can hurt a lot worse than not being able to get the rent you want. I saw this property down the street from me. They sat vacant for 3 months.
Really?
Something. But they were trying to rent for, I don't know, 300 above the market average or something.
Yeah. Not smart.
Not smart. So they lost 4, 8, 12, say 10 grand in rental, 10, 12 grand in rental, trying to achieve 300.
Yeah. I just talked to a property manager today, and he said that he is hurting for properties. Not to manage. I mean, of course, he wants to manage as many as he can, but there's a lot of people looking right now for rentals. Yeah. He said it's right now such a good time because I was talking to him about mine, and he was like, oh, what's it doing? I'm like, it's just sitting there.
The downtown. Not even that one. That
Palolo.
one too. Palolo.
And exact. Yeah.
Oh, you don't have renters in Palolo? Oh, yeah, because, yeah. All right, guys, we're going to wrap this one up. We're moving into our new content studio. We're moving all this stuff, so you're going to see a new background next week. Check us out. You're going to see it develop. You see more art added to it. You see more cool stuff behind us and all of that. So keep tuning in. My plan was about 4.5% or 5%. Yeah, I mean, you're paying more. I get it. It just depends, right?
No, I think that's very reasonable for this market.
For this market, that's super reasonable.
Very reasonable.
Also, you're like, what's your rent? Say your rent's $5,000. Say by doing it, you lose a tenant. Say by losing a tenant, you have to fix some CapEx. So you got to put, $7,500 into it. Plus you miss 2 weeks of rent. That's $2,500 on the $5,000 rent. So now you're about 10 grand for having achieved the higher rent. What's 5% of 5 grand? $250. How long does it take for $250 to catch up to 10 grand? So it's a personal decision. How much do you care about your tenant? You shouldn't invest with your heart, but it can be a consideration.
Yeah, like if your tenant's really good, but you haven't raised for a couple years, the tenant needs to understand as well that this is we haven't raised in a couple years. We're gonna raise. We're giving you as much notice as we can, and this is what it's gonna be. I would definitely feel out the tenant if they're a good one.
Yeah, I would too, and I would also just be authentic with them. Say, look, I really value you. You understand that I have to. My costs have increased this much over the last several years. A 5% increase isn't much. Now it's going to be hard to deliver that in a way that a tenant gives a F, but do your best and say, and just level with them and be reasonable, right?
And they don't want to move either.
And they don't want to move. They don't want to be inconvenienced. Although some people are ready to move. However, they're going to have a hard time. They're probably going to have a hard time getting what you're giving, even plus 5%. That'll be hard for them to achieve again.
Yeah.
So depends on how you want to, look at it from more of an emotional or just a pragmatic investor standpoint. But 4.5%, 5%, like Jody said, super reasonable in this market. And I don't think you should feel bad. Also, do your own math. You don't want to experience thousands of dollars in vacancy and repairs for no good reason. All right. Yeah, no problem. Thank you. All right, we're going to wrap this one up. Thank you, Jody. Hit us up. Let us know if you guys have real estate needs and have questions. Someone even just had me introduce them to a real estate attorney Yes, actually, I got to write the email today. I'll write it right now. So if you guys just need anything in general, think of us for all things real estate.
Yeah.
Okay. All right. Bye, guys.
Bye.